Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here once again. It's the 21st day in the month of July 2022. My name is Heritage Adisa, Markets Analyst at HFM Nigeria. And as always, we'll check through the markets, find out what the overall sentiment is, what the overall stories or the overall drivers in markets are, if it provides opportunities, and then how we can take advantage of it. But please, like always, do remember that this is just a communication material and nothing in this communication contains or should be considered as investment advice or investment recommendation. Users acknowledge that investment in FX and CFD products is characterized by a certain degree of uncertainty, and that any investment of this nature involves a high level of risk for which users are solely responsible and liable. Now, what we have this morning, in terms of the overall environment, first of all, sentiment is mostly mixed to start the day. Markets are majorly focused on a key event coming up later in the day. So I had this written down earlier. I said it's all about the ECB in today's session. Ahead of the ECB meeting later today, market sentiment is mostly mixed. You look at equities, they're trading mostly mixed. On the US side, the US future is mostly basically flat. You look at commodities, broadly lower, but then bond yields are higher. And the major volatility are up and down here and there. So there's that overall mixed flow that we're seeing, across the asset classes. Now, the major stories. Now we had the Nord Stream pipeline come back online. Nord Stream pipeline is one of the major sources of natural gas from Russia down to the heart of Europe, in Germany. I mean, it transports about one third of basically Russian gas exports, right? So, it was shut down about 10 days ago for yearly maintenance, but there's been fears that because of the sanctions and tensions, on Russia, between Russia, Ukraine, all of that, that Russia might not, reopen, the pipeline. But that's been reopened this morning. Some of those fears, energy crisis fears have eased. Running at approximately about 30% so far. Before the lockdown or shutdown was about 40%. So that's basically still fair. And then that has helped the euro. That helped the euro up, earlier in the session. Right now, I said, although much focus will remain on the ECB meeting later today, if this momentum is to keep up, right? So there is that. Apart from that, the Bank of Japan also had their meeting later today, and basically, like always, they left things unchanged, just as markets expect. Basically sticking to their guns, sticking to their script, even committing to easing further if needed. Right now, this is not a good input for Japanese yen. Sits amongst the laggards in today's session, and then even going forward, outlook wise, it's still not a good input for the Japanese yen. Now they've said they're worried about the lower Japanese yen. That if they to help Japanese yen up, they have to hike heavily, and that's something that is in their focus right now. So that means that going forward, we're still expecting some further downsides, some more weakness in Japanese yen. But we'll leave that for now, and that's that. Now, the meeting is the major focus, right? From the meeting, markets are expecting them to hike by either 25 basis points, which is 100% pricing already, expected fully, or a 50 basis point hike, which is about 86% expected. Now, apart from that, we're also expecting them to also deliver on their, anti-fragmentation tool. Now, that's their policy or the tool that would help reduce the fragmentation risk. The fragmentation is basically you know, um, uneven because of the uneven debt situation in Europe, right? Italy having heavy debts compared to other countries, right? By hiking rates or by tightening monetary policy, it's going to affect some other worse than others, right? So now the tool is designed or is supposed to be designed to solve that problem, right? So it's also they're here to deliver that as well. But now that Italy, one of the major potential benefactors of this anti-fragmentation tool is also going through political stress. Not just a few minutes ago, PM Draghi officially resigned, and then clearly you saw if you look across board, the euro just basically made some way to the downside. From the top of the majors has really just pulled lower across board. So there's that as well. But it's something I want to hear. I want to hear how the ECB sees this, what the risks are, and if they're going to go further, with that. Now, if the ECB hikes by 50 basis points and ensures a clear path for a stronger hike going forward, maybe 50 basis points in the next meeting, or even maybe some talk about 75 basis points, right? And even apart from that, a solid plan to curb this fragmentation risk, that should see the euro continue its upside momentum. Now, yes, there's still recession risks here and there, but at least in the meantime, it should see euro make some upside. But anything outside that, 25 basis points, uncertainty about how they're gonna push the anti-fragmentation tool, unclear rate paths going forward. This should see the euro make its way low as well, in line with the overall trend that we've seen over the last couple of months, right? So there is that. But generally you look at the FX space, the dollar and the card amongst the majors leading, strong with the euro, but right now the euro is losing some of that, juice. While on the other hand, you have NZD and AUD amongst the laggards, along with the JPY and the CHF as well amongst the laggards in today's session. But until we have the ECB meeting, it's very likely that we continue to see, push and pull, you know, in the market really, right, in the day. Apart from the ECB meeting, there's basically nothing else on the calendar. Let's quickly look across. But now this is what we're saying. For equities, for example, so far today we're basically trading flat. This is the US 500, basically not going anywhere. Circle around this 39 3950 level, basically flat. And it's the same story across the other US equity futures. Now, for the general equity space, some up, some down. You're seeing some upside, some of them showing printing, downside, flat, some of them. There's still just that overall flat move. So Bitcoin, right? And just quickly, let me clean this out. All right. For Bitcoin, we had some downside as well in today's session. From Tesla's earnings report yesterday, it was said that they sold about 75% of their Bitcoin holdings in exchange for cash, right? There's that wasn't really positive sentiment around the Bitcoin because Tesla, Elon Musk have been one of the strongest push that we've had for the cryptocurrency space over the last couple of months, right? So there's that. The dollar index basically has seen a lot of push and pull. Euro, causing most of this. The VIX trading basically flat today, not really going anywhere. Oil prices and other commodity prices have seen strong downside. This is even seeing even further stronger push in just the last couple of minutes, right? Strong pushes to the downside, right? There's also that I probably have to see if there's any new story driving that. Let's just quickly look at that right now. Because that's a solid push to the downside in the last couple of seconds. Let's see, is there anything? Just a moment, just looking to see if there's anything that we can see right now. Okay, this is the recognition just about a few minutes ago, but can't see anything about on oil prices right now. But there is that. So let's keep going. Copper prices are also down lower for the day as well. Generally, we have the commodity space down, but you have bond yields, pushing higher, bonds down as well. And then it's just overall flow here and there. Now, the focus here is the euro. Now, looking at the euro, right now we are seeing that push lower on the back of the resignation of PM's Draghi of Italy. And then that has seen the euro, make some downside against some of its, its counterparts. Now, what would we like to see? If the let's start with the Euro US right now. If we have the ECB come out hiking interest rates by 50 basis points, coming out all strong and hawkish, I think we should expect to see it pay out some of this weakness we're seeing from the resignation here and make some further pushes to the upside. Now, this is an interesting level to look out for here around here. This is this key 1.02 was the highest going back to 18th of July. So break back above this, a retest could make us retest yesterday's highs and maybe even higher. Yesterday's let's say American high thereabout around this key 1.025. But if there is nothing like that, which is for me, I think is a likelier scenario, because there's so much risk for the ECB right now. There's so much stress here and there. So if we don't get that hawkish push that we're looking for, I think this should be, the level that we should pay attention to looking for further downside with key levels or key targets around 1.015, another one going back to 1.0. That's is this parity 1.01 and even going back down as well. So is that to pay attention to? I would prefer this now with oil prices coming lower. A hawkish ECB against the Canadian dollar would also be interesting. Looking for upside here. Key levels to pay attention to this would be around. Well, right now we're struggling here, but I think I would prefer to see something, around this level. I think this would be an interesting level to look out for, or better still, a retest of this low level here, looking for the upside pushes, or anything really back towards one or two could be interesting in terms of looking for further upside. Just anything back pullbacks on this levels will be interesting to look for the upside on this particular pair. But basically, I think the ECB meeting is a major focus. I don't want you jumping in on, whatever they just say from the meeting. Pay attention to the press conference, the statement itself, understand what they mean, context, and then now look to take your positions. Like I said, the calendar is basically light, for the day ahead. not much, scheduled in there except the BOC rate meeting statement as well as even the press conference later in the day. So that's it for now. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and we'll always do our best, to help. Thank you and do enjoy the rest of your training session. Goodbye for now.